Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first ever virtual state called meeting for newly elected clerk treasurers or newly appointed clerk treasurers and controllers. We appreciate you being here today, and we are so excited to try this event. And we can see from our registration list that many of you are new from January 1, and some of you are even new from July. So we appreciate you being here today. My name is Susan Gordon, and this is Todd Caldwell. We are Directors of Audit Services for the Indiana State Board of Accounts, and we would be your primary contact for this agency. And one thing that we want you to know is that we want you to please feel comfortable and never hesitate to give us a call or send us an email if you have a question. We are here to help you and assist you in any way that we can. Now, before we get started, we do want to go over a few features of the WebEx meeting that we have today. There is a Q&A box that you should see at the bottom right of your screen. You can send a question to us with that feature. Just type your question in and hit send. And then I'm speaking now, so Todd will be monitoring those, and we'll get you a typed response back. And then if we have time, we'll also discuss your questions as part of the verbal presentation here. Your video is muted or turned off, and your microphone is muted. That is just the way that we have to do these to preserve the bandwidth and make things go as smoothly as possible. But you can communicate with us, like I said, through that Q&A feature. First off, well, the kind of the agenda for today, we're going to give you an overview of the Indiana State Board of Accounts and what we do, and also the reports that need to be filed with us. And we'll go through our website and maybe even look at the gateway application if we have time. I'm going to do that, and that should take until about 10:20 or so, and then we're going to take a short break. And Todd will come on then at 10:30, and he's going to talk to you about fund sources and uses, salary ordinances and bank reconciliations, not necessarily in that order, but he'll be wrapping up then with that information around noon. Tomorrow we're going to start again at 9 o'clock, and tomorrow is devoted entirely to the audit process. Our goal with that is to make sure that you know exactly what to expect and how to prepare for an audit, because we all want the audits to go smoothly. But before we get started with any of that today, we do have a special guest with us, our state examiner, Paul Joyce. He is the head of our agency, and he is here to welcome you this morning. So without further ado, I will just go ahead and turn it over to State Examiner Joyce.
Thank you, Susan. Todd, I love your mask. Thank you. I would like to thank everybody for participating today. And I know it's extremely unique circumstances that we're under. And I'm thinking that probably when everybody ran for election or was currently elected, this probably wasn't the at least the atmosphere you thought you would be taking whenever you decided to be either a public official or renew your office and not retire. It definitely has been, I think, unprecedented when we come to the times that we're experiencing right now. And it's really created some very unique experiences for all of us. Not only the local officials, many seasoned elected officials have found it extremely difficult to come up with ways to continue to run their office and get the job done. And I think that's the most important thing that we make sure that we focus on, whether it be now or whether it be at the beginning of the pandemic, is focusing on how we do get the job done and coming up with definitely creative ways to achieve the mission that we set out to start. And the unfortunate part is there's an extreme group of people that believe that this is that was and is still a very short-term situation that we're under. And I follow and participate in a lot of national seminars and conferences like this one. I'm actually participating in the National Association for Comptrollers, Auditors, and Treasurers right now, and it's being done virtually as well. And they yesterday they talked on there about the outlook for states going forward. As far as how the pandemic itself is affecting and will continue to affect local governments and state governments. And the outlook was actually pretty cloudy. It wasn't what you would call definitely a rosy picture or a good outlet. Many are talking about, the double-dip recession possibilities, that things will actually get worse before they get better. That the thought that, we might have a vaccine by the end of the year that's being developed and that gets allowed. But what they're also saying is that the average person won't get it, even if it is developed, until July or later next year. And they figure that it'll be 50 to 60%, 65%, accurate or good, and also 50% of the people won't go get it. So there's real concerns from the community, from the national community, that the effectiveness that could be or it will be obtained from any vaccine is going to be mutated by those constraints, and that will just linger this issue going forward, causing us in the world where we live with working with the public to be extended going forward. And the problem with that is when we look at revenues that the states generate, they generate that off of monies that are generated by the private sector. Businesses out there flourishing and making money. And states actually and local governments, we kind of revolve in like a year and a half, 2-year timeline and a time lag behind where what you're seeing is actually happening out into the world. So we're really looking right now into, the best guess is 23, 24, where we could possibly see a good advance for where our services can actually start getting back to some form of normality. And that's a long time. And that's at a what the experts are considering to be the best guess. So what we really need to make sure that we're doing is focusing not only on the current situation that we're in right now, but looking forward to how can we make sure that we continue to develop procedures and processes to make sure that the services that we need to get out to our citizens are actually deliverable. And that's that I would urge that you guys do right now, is work together with your associations, with your communities around you, to help develop that process, that as you move forward, that those services can be delivered. And it sounds a whole lot easier than what it is. I was in a courthouse yesterday down in Vincennes at Knox County, and I was talking to the treasurer's office, and, collecting taxes is extremely unique for counties, and it's a very hard thing to do when you're trying not to, be in actual physical contact with the community. And, we would think that in today's society that, people pay taxes online all the time, and it's real easy to do, but the reality is not that. The reality is there's a lot of people that pay taxes in person, and they pay them with cash. And so it really puts a lot of treasurer's offices in a unique spot to go out and collect these taxes, in the time frames that's being established. So, they're getting ready to gear up for it again in November. And of course, the big question with them is, are we going to delay once again the property tax collections in November as we move that backwards? And of course, every time we delay those property tax collections from the counties, it impacts how you guys actually get the money and when you get the money from the county. So it's a trickle down effect that affects us all. So what everybody really, what they're doing right now is everybody's trying to figure out how can we mitigate these issues, looking forward. And not only are we looking to November this year, but we're looking into May of next year even. I mean, we have to make sure that we continue looking into that advance. So, that's one of the things that I think the biggest thing that everybody can do right now, whether you're newly elected or whether you're a seasoned veteran, is make sure we're looking ahead and looking into, like right now, let's look into that flu season and what are we going to do with our offices when the flu season gets here and we're having, another resurgence of the coronavirus in our communities, and how are we going to continue our services? How does our citizens get the services they need to survive? And it is my belief that our citizens do need government to survive. We provide a lot of services. You guys are the number one provider of services to your citizens to make sure that their life goes on, to make sure that the stoplights stay running, the bulbs stay changed, the water stays flowing, and so they're definitely vital services. So don't get caught up in this is going to go away tomorrow. Even if that happens, let's all be very thankful that it does. Let's be very happy that it does, but let's not plan that it does. Let's look forward, plan ahead, think about what we're going to do 3-6 months from now, and make sure that our offices can be executed as efficiently as possible. Throughout the process, starting in day one, we were offering different directives and advice, posting it on our website. I'm sure Todd and Susan will go over those extensively with you. Todd and Susan are both available through either email or phone call on a regular basis to try to help local communities ride this storm out however long it takes. And they'll be right there with you trying to make sure that everything gets done. So unfortunately, we have had a few places lock their door and walk away. That's not acceptable. Bills still need to be paid. Payroll needs to be met. Insurance needs to be paid. Lights need to stay on. A business needs to stay running. So let us help you make that happen. Use Todd and Susan's vast experience to help you be a success. And if at any time that I can help you, please do. I urge you to participate with your association. AIM is a very qualified, very well-ran organization that will help you succeed, not only right now during this pandemic, but even in good times. So definitely support AIM. Use their vast knowledge, use their board, and do anything you can to try to help make this work in this strange thing we're doing right now. I can tell you that I know that a lot of people think that the virtual conferences are hard. They are. I had a lot more hope about 3 years ago for virtual presentations and the effectiveness of them. And I think in great times that definitely in people conferences are much better. It's easier to look next to the person and say, man, this is boring, I want to go to sleep, than sit here watching it on a video conference and what's going on. So that interaction that you can get with somebody there is priceless. So when we do walk away from this pandemic and put it behind us, I look forward. I know Todd and Susan both look forward. AIM looks forward. Your vendors look forward to the day that we can, once again, meet somewhere and get together in person and have our conferences and be able to communicate with each other in a live setting, share our experiences. So with that, please work with Todd and Susan through the virtual process we have. If at any time you feel that you have any suggestions that can help make it better, please offer those suggestions. Ask your questions. Todd and Susan will do everything they can to make sure they answer them. And most of all, thank you for participating. Have a great day. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you very much, State Senator Joyce. We really appreciate you being here today. So the first thing that we would like to do is to go over a little overview of the State Board of Accounts. It's important to understand who we are and what we do, and how that involves you, so that we can all work together toward public accountability of funds. State Board of Accounts, our statutes are in Indiana Code 5-11, and we audit the records and accounts of all state and local governmental units. We prepare reports indicating that the financial condition of these units, and we comment on any non-compliance with laws or uniform compliance guidelines. And we also prescribe a uniform system of accounting. Now, for cities and towns, we're on a statutory schedule to audit at least once every 4 years, but there are some cities and towns that would be audited more frequently than that. And those would be cities or towns with certain debt requirements, or if they expend a certain amount of federal assistance. Now, all of those statutory responsibilities that we have kind of form the basis for our mission statement, and that is that we are dedicated to providing the citizens of the state of Indiana with complete confidence in the integrity and financial accountability of state and local government. And that statement, that mission statement, is very important to us because everything we do ties back to this statement. And no doubt you, as clerk, treasurers, and controllers, have the same interest in having confidence in the integrity and financial accountability of public funds. So it is good that we can work together to that end. And Todd and I want to make sure that you know everything that you need to know to accomplish that goal. Now, to accomplish that goal and our statutory responsibilities, our agency is divided into several different components, I guess. Our board has organized us in that way. Our board is headed by the state examiner, Paul Joyce, whom you met a minute ago. And we also have 2 deputy state examiners. The bulk of our staff consists of financial and compliance auditors. I mean, if you think about it, it does take a lot of people to go through and do all the audits of all the state and local governments for the state of Indiana. Some units that expend more than $750,000 in federal grant money do need a special federal audit, and we have a team that does specialize in that area and that will come in and do those audits. Our special investigations team investigates fraud and misappropriations of funds. Hopefully you will never have any contact with that division of our agency, but unfortunately there is no lack of work for them as they do continue to investigate fraud and misappropriations. And in fact, that's one of the primary reasons our agency was established way back in 1909, and we're still fulfilling that mission today. Todd and I are in the Director of Audit Services group, and our job is to provide training to you. As Paul said, a lot of in the past, it's always been in person, and we really enjoy that. This year, of course, it has to be virtual training. And we also provide technical assistance to you. So if you have a question, you can please always feel free to call us or email us, and we will get back with you as quickly as we can. We do have several different engagement types depending on the needs of your unit, and Todd's going to talk about those tomorrow as part of the audit process. If there are matters of non-compliance in your audit, either non-compliance with statute or uniform compliance guidelines, Then our field examiners will use their professional judgment on how and if to report those. Non-compliance with statutory provisions is pretty self-explanatory. An example of that would be not performing a bank reconciliation on a monthly basis, because that's required by statute, or non-adopting the minimum level of internal control standards. That also is a statutory requirement. But what you may not be aware of are our uniform compliance guidelines. The State Board of Accounts has the statutory authority to create uniform compliance guidelines for a unit to observe. And we can write a comment in the report if those guidelines are not followed. Examples of that, some of them are just common sense. Examples would be a unit should follow its own ordinances. If in fact a unit had not, we might write that up. Or receipts should be issued and recorded at the time of the transaction. Those would be a couple of examples, but really all of our manuals, all of our bulletins and state examiner directives are all considered uniform compliance guidelines. And I'm going to show you how to find those here in a little bit at the end of this presentation. Now, as a part of your audit, when a report is made, you do have the the opportunity to file an official response to that report. It becomes a part of the report, and that is just a statutory opportunity that you have. I'll probably mention several times over the course of the next 2 days about repeat comments, and that is just if you've had a comment in a report in 2 successive reports. That's considered a repeat comment. And the reason that's so important is the legislature has put an emphasis on resolving audit findings. So my recommendation to you, and I'll probably say this again later, is to go back to your audit report for your unit, the last audit report that was filed. You can find it on our website. I have what it looks like there. And take a look at your report and see if there are any audit results and comments in your report. And if there are, see if those have been resolved. If they haven't been resolved, then make a plan to get those resolved as quickly as possible. And if you need ideas on how to resolve those, you can of course call Todd or I, and we'll be glad to walk you through that. Here's a better picture of where you can take a look at that on our website. You just click that search reports button and enter in the name of your unit, and it'll pop right up for you. And then here's a picture of our home page. I wanted for you to have this information in your slide, the address and what it looks like. At the end of the slide PowerPoint presentation, I'm actually going to go and we'll look through some of the features of our website. But if you look over to the left under political subdivisions, you'll see that we have a page for cities and a page for towns. And you can access a lot of information on those. And again, I'll show that to you in a little bit. Now, there are several reports and information that needs to be filed with the State Board of Accounts. So I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit so you would know what's expected throughout the year to be filed. So we'll go through that now. Many of the reports are filed in Gateway. So if you do go in, when you do go into Gateway, you'll come to this page. Department of Local Government Finance is green and on the left, and that is not our agency. Those are that's the budget people who work with you on your budget. Board of Accounts is in the red on the right. And you can see a list of the various reports here for our agency. There's a little bit better picture of that. For cities and towns, you need to fill out the 100R, the annual financial report. You'll be uploading information in the monthly and annual engagement uploads. And if you have any conflict of interest disclosure statements, you'll also be entering those through this application. The E1 Entity Annual Report is for non-governmental entities that receive financial assistance. So you do not need to complete that report. And the ECA risk report is a school report, so you don't have to worry about that one either. Now, as you work through these applications, one thing that I want to make sure that you know is that there are user guides available for each one. And you can usually find those user guides by clicking on the blue question mark. Sometimes it says user guides, sometimes it says help, but it will take you to those user guides. And our people have spent a lot of time putting a lot of detail in these user guides, and they will walk you through the entire process. And they also contain frequently asked questions that are very, very useful as you work through these reports.